Follow-on. This relates to Canada and China. Canada's reopened its doors to China. Pretty much, it's reopening its doors to other options of opportunity relating to, shifting, relating to for other options. And the major policy shift, Ottawa, will ease tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, while Beijing slashes duties on Canadian canola exports. So it's a win-win for China and win-win for Canada. Chinese gains a very valuable and viable ally, U.S. ally, closer for their interest, while Canada, suits for other alternatives and options that benefit their interests, man. The agreement marks a thaw in relationship frozen since 2018 and represents a clear divergence from U.S. trade policies. Mark Carney visits to Beijing seals what he calls a new relationship shaped by global realities. The deal expands his agriculture, energy, and finance with visa-free travel added to the mix. For Canada, it's about diversifying, diversity, man. Also a change as well. For China, it's diplomatic win, pulling a U.S. ally closer to its strategic orbit, to its own interests, man. You know what I mean? So allies, U.S. is losing allies, man. You know what I mean? So it's becoming tensions between U.S. and its allies. His commandants, man, his buddies, his friends, man. You know what I mean? So U.S. is losing support, from their allies, man. Even the scripture says the nation shall be mad. They are drunken of the wine. Now the nations become mad, man. So the nations are becoming mad, man. That one's the nations, especially are closest to U.S., man. They can be mad. You know what I mean? The scripture talks about they should turn on her. They should turn on. Let me get it. Jeremiah 51. Babylon had been a golden cup in the hand of the Lord's hand and made all the earth drunken. Follow the ways of the Western philosophy through tough and stringent forms of policies to make them comply, man. For example, the West making these other nations follow their ways, man, through the doctrines, philosophies, ideologies, and just forced compliance, man. Now you have the nations have drunken of her wine. That wine goes to philosophy, ideologies, the ways of the West, man. That goes to the Western philosophies and what comes with that. Therefore, the nations are mad. Why the nations are mad? Because they realizing that it was a lie, man. It was a farce and it was a lie, and they realizing, they're not benefiting off of it, most of all, man. You know what I mean? Betrayal, man, in a matter of speaking. Now let's go to Revelation 17 and 16. Revelation 17 and 16. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. That's the EU NATO, man. That's what the Babylon is riding on, man. You know what I mean? That's the conglomerate, man. therefore shall hate the whore. Now these 10 nations, 10 horns, they turning on Babylon. That's the allied nations, EU and NATO, man. They turning on her, man. And shall make her desolate and naked, and pretty much leave her, expose her, man, for what it is, man. Desolate means her in a bad situation, man. You know what I mean? Desolate and naked. She gonna be exposed and naked, man, and in ruin. Desolation is a ruin. And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That's the missiles, man. Because World War 3, 9 and 12, 11 and 14 Revelations, man. You know what I mean? When they shall say peace, the sudden destruction comes through World War 3, man. World War 3 is the missiles, man. They're going to turn against the allied nations, going to turn against Babylon, and other nations going to turn on her. You know what I mean? The arrows represents the missiles, man. It sounds far-fetched, it sounds sci-fi, it sounds very dreamy in a nightmarish way, but that's the reality. And that dream that woman saw, that the dark angels, 11, 12 feet, men that look like angels, very dark. Part of that dream, and horrific dream she was experienced when she was crying, and she couldn't even, really describe it. That's how horrifying it was. Part of that's World War 3, the nuclear destruction, man. 'Cause that's part of that, man. So that's what that is. These nations are going to turn against each other, man. They're going to turn on Babylon specifically, man. Babylon represents, they call it the whore of Babylon, man. It represents America, man. America is the woman. You know what I mean? She represents Babylon. She represents that whore, man. You know, the scripture talks about she spread her whoredoms all around. And part of that whoredom she spread herself is through the Western ways, the philosophies, that wine that she has spilled, that she has intoxicated, and even is intoxicated and spread to these other nations. The drink of that wine, where they become intoxicated, drunk off that stuff, man. You know what I mean? She seduced them, compromised them, and even compelled them to do certain things. And they're seeing after all these things that it's not beneficial no more, and it was never beneficial. So now they're going to turn on her. They're becoming angry, so they're going to turn on her, man. And that's what's happening, man. So the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, they shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Missiles. Revelations, the first woe is past, and the second and third one thereafter. The second woe is past, and the third woe cometh quickly. 9:12 of Revelations, 11 and 14 of Revelations. That's destruction, man. The besom raised to a broom. Broom is a sweep. The radiation is part of that sweep, man. The besom, man. Broom of destruction, man. Where it pretty much sweeps everything in its path. It cleans up everything, in the matter of speaking. So that's part of that vision that woman seen, man. And the dark angels that look like that's the appearance and the complexion of the angels, what they look like, man. Relating to being very dark, tall, and very dark. And that will scare anybody just by itself, man. You know what I mean? Because most people are not expecting that. You know what I mean? So for that woman in that dream, that was a frightful thing, man. Very frightful. Scripture talks about fearful sights, signs from the heaven. Fearful sights. For that woman, that was a fearful sight to see that in that vision and that dream, man. Because the betrayal that's been perpetrated as far as what the angels have seen come contrary and opposition of what she described relating to in that dream, man. You know what I mean? So that goes contrary to what most people would think, man. You know what I mean? Or you know, what they think or going to think relating to that. So this is just something short. So this relating to hope it helps relating to information, news and different things. Hope it helps in some way. Whoever listens. This is Zaya Wolf Shalom.